seats, or are we all set?
I can move whenever you need me to.
Well, no, I'm thinking since if Angela's not, we have 2 county legislators, they can join us if we have 2 seats, and I think we probably do.
We need one more.
No, we have.
We have 1? Well, then Rich Perkins can sit outside. Why don't you?
See you, Rich.
I'll just stay right behind you. Oh, and you should join us.
I go grab
And we're gonna put 1 more seat, and Sue can join us. If we had 1 more, I might have to be more.
I don't know if we
actually
met,
have-
maybe at the last
What's that?
mayors and supervisors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to do it. Okay.
A while ago.
See you again.
Kelly, how are you?
Good.
Speak either.
Hold this or talk into that.
And not too close.
Send you all over the place.
Gosh. Are we okay? This is a little bit unusual for an unusual style of sort of doing announcement. We apologize. You're behind us. Am I okay with the? I didn't want to get yelled at by
Yeah,
the.
no, I think you're good.
Okay,
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
It's funny when you hand out or make grant announcements, the things you can get away with. Sure, you're stepping on my toe. It's okay. I want to welcome all of you and our guests, including members of the media, today. I have been saying and talking about this day for about a year. Now, it may not seem to you that this is the most significant announcement Dutchess County will ever make, but in some ways, because of really an unprecedented step at the county level throughout the state of New York, Dutchess County a year ago adopted a county budget that, one, did include a capping of the sales tax distribution in municipalities, and then in turn, putting on the table $2 million of sales tax revenue to incentivize consolidation and shared services, all in an effort to get municipalities working together, to initiate greater collaboration and to some degree centralization with the county, and ultimately to produce a better result for taxpayers and a lower total cost of government. We are, as I mentioned, the first in the state to put our money where our mouth is, and I am. I think I thought, as I was driving down, I thought to myself, I don't know that I could adequately express nor adequately contain my excitement about today's announcements, because you are the supervisors who are here, the cream of the crop. Today, we will announce and share with the public 5 projects that represent 17 municipalities collaborating, working together to consolidate and share services for a total grant award of nearly $900,000. Now, that's not the full $2 million we put on the table, as you probably know. That's easy math. But we are doing round 1 announcements today. For those who might be interested, we will be holding a similar or something similar in the city of Beekman to make the round 2 announcements, and I hope that we will be able to do that before we release the county budget on or about October 30th. So, but I can't express that the supervisors that you see here and mayor really have presented to the county and their taxpayers phenomenally good projects. And when we initiated this grant program, I wasn't sure what we would get, but the grant submissions exceeded our level of expectation, and I had a pretty high expectation. That said, we're going to walk through a few slides, talk a little bit about the program, although I pretty much did that. But before we do that, I think it'd probably be best to have each of you introduce who you are, where you represent, and then we'll come back around. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the program and then let you talk about your projects so the public and others get to understand them. And before I should probably let Supervisor Rohr welcome us here, since you're our host. But before I do that, I want to acknowledge we didn't get here alone. The county legislature was asked to shoulder a terrific burden under a great deal of pressure from Todd Tancredi and others. No. During the I wanted to make sure I gave you the. I don't know. That's probably good that you were.
Anytime you mention my name, I figure it's good.
Okay. We asked the legislature to confront the fact that this county didn't have a contract to distribute sales tax. We asked them to do it in a way that would preserve shared services. Your supervisor is here, so we could add a chair. We'll add a chair. Or he'll swap you, whichever is your, whatever is his preference. Thank you, Supervisor. We appreciate you coming.
How are you, sir? Thank you.
Paul, you don't have to go to the back of the room. Just, I don't know the dynamic. Just sit here.
Hey, Matt.
How are you, Annie?
Yeah, thank you. We asked the county legislature to shoulder really the burden of helping us to approve this initiative. Again, being new and unique in the state, we asked them to take a leap of faith, and most of the county legislature supported that effort, and two members who did are here, Legislator Rich Perkins and Legislator Sue Serino, both from Hyde Park, and we're grateful you're joining us. I will tell you, she was trying to get here and I guess couldn't, but Legislator Angela Flesland was admittedly singular in both the amount of pressure and advocacy that was placed on her and her willingness and commitment to making sure this program would move forward, as really was the leadership of the chairman, Rob Rollison. So this county took a leap of faith, and I think you're going to see today that it was well worth it. So Aileen, if you'd like to welcome us, and then we'll work our way around.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the town of Hyde Park. First, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to our county executive, Mark Molinaro, first and foremost for his leadership and his vision. It has been his articulated quest to streamline government and make it more efficient, to do more with less, to create a government that provides essential services to its taxpayers for the least costs, and yet grows our local economy to adapt to the 21st century's demographic and economic changes. It's a lofty goal, but one that he and we, the mayors and supervisors of Dutchess County, are embracing. It is what the times require and our constituents deserve. So thank you so much, and are we holding off on the, okay,
Yeah,
the rest of it? Okay, so thank you again for everyone for coming.
Thank you, Aileen. It was very kind. Mayor?
Hello, Mayor Alexander, Village of Wappingers Falls, and for this purpose, Chairman of the Tri-Municipal Sewer Commission, which is made up of the towns of Wappinger and Poughkeepsie, as well as the Village of Wappingers Falls. And I thank you for inviting us today, and we're just really happy to be part of this process.
Morning. Thank you. Dave Kelly, Supervisor, Town of Pawling. I really appreciate being part of this, and you said, part of the elite group, and it's nice to be chosen as that.
Thanks.
Thank you.
My name's Todd Tancredi. I'm Supervisor of the town of Poughkeepsie, and happy to be here.
Julia Pagonis, Dutchess County Planning.
Owen Rafter, Dutchess County Planning and Development, Assistant Commissioner.
Sue Serino, Dutchess County Legislator and Legislator of Hyde Park. I'm very proud to be here today.
Rich Perkins, the other legislator from Hyde Park, and glad to be here. Thank you.
Matt Kennedy, Supervisor, Town of Beekman, also very glad to be here and very appreciative to this gentleman for what I think is a fine initiative in right-sizing government.
And I'm Keely Salomon, the Commissioner of Planning and Development.
Thank you all. We actually do refer to Rich as the other legislator from Hyde Park. I would apologize. I mean, how could you really? In Sue's sunshine, how is it possible to not have that? But nevertheless, we appreciate you both being here. Let's sort of recap. So a year ago, the concept in the adoption of the county budget was to initiate a municipal consolidation and shared services grant. The goal to make government smaller, smarter, and more successful, and you have all embraced that, ultimately to yield savings to taxpayers. The program, as you know, focused on several areas: consolidation, outright consolidation of services, so functions of local government consolidated altogether, either between or within or among municipalities. The sharing of services, municipalities banding together to share in the delivery of a service. Regional delivery of services, local governments coming together really on a regional basis to focus on cost-effective delivery of service. Municipal consolidation planning or implementation, coming together to take a good idea and analyze whether or not it would make sense to initiate, and then ultimately, last of our priorities, other efficiency improvements. Thank you. I should just follow along yours as well. So how did we get here? And what were our priorities? Multi-jurisdictional, consistent with previous consolidation or shared services plans, sharing of service or consistency with county planning, and the concept of putting our dollars in a position of leveraging additional dollars. We took into consideration in depositing this program in the Department of Planning and Development the work that many of you have already engaged in. In fact, very early on in this initiative, a particular town supervisor said to me, you know, you're going about this all wrong. You're telling us that you want to consolidate. What you should be telling us is that you're supporting the projects that we've had on the table. And he was right. There are countless and have been countless initiatives to consolidate and shared services really across the state, but within Dutchess County, so many. And they all come out of your work, supervisors and mayors for the last 20 years trying to do more with less, some trying to do less with less. And ultimately, we felt that you had so many good projects and good ideas on the table that we wanted to support them. So we took into consideration the work of Pattern for Progress. CREO did a study for the Northern Dutchess Alliance, and of course Hyde Park being a member. And recently a submission and analysis conducted by the League of Women Voters. How those things and your initiatives sort of match up with Dutchess County's Greenway Connections, our centers and green space efforts, our Moving Dutchess, our transportation plan, and our consolidated plan as it relates to housing and community development. So we have 5 awardees today, totaling some $900,000 in grants. And if you haven't figured it out already, those of you at the table are awardees. So congratulations. And rather than me talk about your programs, you're going to talk about your programs. But the good news is I think we told you what you should be prepared to talk about. So this shouldn't be a surprise for anybody but Dave Kelly. So. Go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make my own thank yous. The county executive said that he deposited this program in the Department of Planning and Development. It's one of 3 different community investment programs that we're operating, 2 of which were new this year. Most of you who are local government officials are aware of our Community Development Block Grant Program, which is administered from our office. We also had for the 2013-14 program year an agency partner program, which works with local not-for-profit organizations to provide services that meet needs that have been identified by the county for the coming year. Both of those programs are underway right now. This is the 3rd of our community investment programs, and I'm very excited to be here for these round 1 announcements. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my staff, because the hard work for this in terms of developing applications, taking applications, answering questions, and also working with our Community Development Advisory Committee fell mostly to Owen Raster, the Assistant Commissioner, and new to our staff, but hit the ground running, Julia Pagonis, who is the Community Development Program Specialist. So, without...
Civil service titles.
That's what we have.
Yes.
So without further ado, we do want to hear from the 5 communities that have been awarded in this first round. And the first one is our host, Aileen Rohr, speaking for Hyde Park and quite a number of other communities.
That's right. Well, again, I'd like to just express my gratitude to you, Keely, the county executive, and definitely to Owen Rafter, who was invaluable in giving us hands-on guidance and always available to answer questions. So as the county executive alluded to, this process began out of the loss of sales tax, and it's an example, I suppose, of turning lemons into lemonade, because it forced us to really look inward and outward to examine how we can create a greater efficiency. So it was out of that process that Hyde Park took the lead in applying on behalf of 12 towns for the purchase of zoning, planning, and building software that would replace our antiquated existing software. Municity Software is a product of Software Consulting Associates, which is located right here in Dutchess County, and it was selected after reviewing and comparing several other products. The software chosen needed to streamline and modernize the application process for businesses, developers, and residents. It needed to dramatically increase the efficiency, improve communications, and reduce IT expenditures. It needed to enable staff to share information with other municipalities and within our own municipality. It also had to enhance relationships with the public and business community by being more user-friendly and transparent. I'm happy to say that Municity achieves all these goals. It's a cloud computing application for building permitting, inspection, code enforcement, planning, and zoning. The system will provide a state-of-the-art software services to each municipality, including mobile devices, a tablet or smartphone, for efficient data input in the field. It will enable collaborative functions such as live update with the Dutchess County Assessment System for name and address updates, a shared contractor database for tracking of licenses and insurance, cooperative plan review between the municipality and other agencies, and shared GIS resources. Through this grant, the web-based Municity software system will be shared by all the following municipalities: the City of Beacon, the Town of Beekman, Town of Milan, Town of Pleasant Valley, Town of Red Hook, Village of Red Hook, Town of Rhinebeck, Village of Rhinebeck, Village of Tivoli, Town of Union Vale, Village of Wappingers Falls, and of course us, the Town of Hyde Park. Because it is web-based, the system will enable building inspectors, code enforcement officers, and plan reviewers to provide their expertise to multiple municipalities. The web-based architecture and innovative tablet and smartphone apps will allow inspectors to do much of their work in the field and result in greater efficiencies. The system will include an easy-access public website for online permit applications, as well as a homeowner and contractor portal for tracking the status of your application or building permit and for contractors to review their insurance and licensing information. The system will enhance economic development and public relations by providing a public portal that will include timely communication for homeowners and contractors through text messages and emails. This grant will, of course, allow for improved efficiencies in the municipalities. It will reduce IT expenditures and possible sharing of staff between municipalities. It will increase collaboration between municipalities and the county and will provide a more streamlined and transparent process for all the residents and contracting community. By pursuing this product on behalf of 12 towns through the Shared Service Grant Program, we collectively reduced the cost by 30%, which resulted in a net savings to the municipalities of $70,000. As Hyde Park Supervisor, I am determined to make sure our review process is efficient and modern so that we can welcome the new businesses and residents' desire. Our volunteer board members and professional staff work hard to keep projects moving, and residents are seeing the results. And the implementation of this new software will enhance that process. So I, again, am very grateful for your support and look forward to our continued work to get this new software implemented for all the 12 towns.
Okay, so now we move from code enforcement to highway maintenance. And Todd Tancredi?
Okay. We have partnered with the town of Hyde Park to pursue the purchase of automated salt spreaders for our trucks, and we see this benefiting both municipalities in a number of ways. First of all, it's less salt used, which is great for the environment with well water being contaminated, throughout the county. We think if we can use less salt to treat our streets, that's an added bang for the buck, so to speak. But the other benefits, by partnering with Hyde Park, we gained a quantity discount, benefit on the purchase of the spreaders. And what we've also committed to doing is once we have put these salt spreaders on our trucks, it'll reduce the amount of time it takes to not only salt the streets, but reduce the amount of manpower, because the guys won't have to run back and forth to the salt, shed so often. So once we've had them on the truck for a year, we're going to reanalyze the routes, see if we can better program our trucks and save time, save manpower, save gas, save salt on clearing the streets. So I think it's going to benefit both municipalities in a number of areas, and hopefully we received a nice grant.
Just remind them what we are awarding. Do you have those? As we go around the table, we probably should let you know what you're officially getting. In the case of, here, I'll let Keely do this. You can announce it. You did all the work.
I can do the
She gets the good part.
Okay, for the cloud-based building permitting, code enforcement, planning, zoning collaboration for Hyde Park and its 11 partners, the grant project award is up to $257,205. And for the automated salt spreader project that Supervisor Tancredi just described, the project award is $357,000.
Great.
Very nice, thank you.
Thank you. I'll
Yay.
see everybody later.
Don't
Okay.
spend it too quickly.
Okay, the next project is for the town and village of Pawling, and I'm going to let Supervisor Kelly talk about that. And the project award for that is $48,720.
First off, I'd like to say thank you. I appreciate it, Commissioner and County Exec. Thank you for reviewing our plan and understanding what the town and village were trying to look for. And then through conversations with Owen Rafter, it really came to light that this project which is the reacquisition of our fuel farm at our highway department. Currently, we have an aging fuel farm and delivery system that is in need of replacement. And we thought this would be the perfect opportunity, thank you, to replace and repair the system out there, from the fuel tanks to the dispensing system itself. But the key issue here is that we are now able to bring the county on board, or any other municipality in the future. We chose to go with a fuel master system, and this is something that the county's used. And to kind of give you a little example, is that every vehicle in the fleet will have a fob that is significant to their, and the fuel master is up there, is significant to that vehicle in itself. So it's kind of a threefold issue here. One, it's a replacement of an aging system. Two, it's doing the shared service and all that the county executive proposed here. But it's also, the third is bringing in new and continuous entities that can use the system. Being a former legislator, I understand how we are spread out around the county, and having a fuel farm is well adapted in our area because of our current location, the southernmost corner of the county. As the county executive has said in the past few years, our social services program and mental hygiene programs are increasing the people that are using the services. Those vehicles are out more and more. This will give them the opportunity, and along with highway and any other county vehicle, sheriff's department or anywhere else, to actually fuel up at that location during business hours. And it makes it more availability to greater savings. One of the aspects here is that we're going to take our tanks that are at a low gallon capacity, and increase that. We found out in the storms that we had, such Superstorm Sandy, when there was no power anywhere, delivery of fuel was essential. We were actually trying to get fuel every day, and we're at the lowest. We were running down. And this will increase the capacity of our tanks, allow us less frequent deliveries in there, and allow for even storms not to have a delivery every other day during a normal storm, but it should push us out about a week or so on the delivery pattern. So by allowing the county to come in, it gives us more availability of these issues, which is wonderful. One side note with the fuel master system is that if in the maintenance of a vehicle, if a vehicle is set up for periodic maintenance and they have not performed that maintenance, the system will lock them out. So what it does is, essentially, it really saves to the taxpayers the additional cost of the overuse or abuse of a vehicle beyond its maintenance program. We found in the town of Pawling, if we stay on the maintenance program, we reduce the further cost to the residents. So this keeps us on a maintenance program. It keeps a good view of the over-the-road vehicles, and it brings everybody in together. So we appreciate, we thank you for the award and the ability to work with the county further. This is the collaboration that, Mark, that you brought when your administration started, and I really see how it's grown, and I appreciate to be part of it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Supervisor Kennedy from Beekman, who's going to describe the project that they have for assessor services, for which there is a $25,000 award.
Excellent, thank you. I'll begin by saying I guess I'm a little obtuse, because I thought this was not necessarily the award, and that I was coming here and potentially, going to attend the prom and not be asked to dance. So it was very great to discover.
Survivor, and you've been voted off.
But no, just an absolutely wonderful program. I've long been a proponent of needing to look at government the way that, and to run government the way that one does in the private sector. And I think the County Executive Molinaro has sort of led the charge in being probably one of the best managers / CEOs in that regard. Aileen spoke before of the Municipy software, and I think that's wonderful. Beekman is part of that as a co-applicant. The important thing about something like that is, there's money being spent by the county to basically save taxpayers, and it's really an investment for us in the town of Beekman, and I think everywhere else. That's going to mean additional revenue for us. We can stay on top of a great number of things. We can, monitor compliance better, and actually it will mean greater revenue to our taxpayers because of this investment here and that great software. The other program about which, there was the introduction there was a shared services agreement that we have with the town of Dover pertaining to a shared assessor. It was our assessment in this particular instance that, we have a full-time person on staff, they have a full-time person on staff, and it was essentially an opportunity for, some synergies there. We thought that one person could really perform that role, provided that, there's the proper training in place, provided we have the proper software. With these funds, we're going to have the ability to basically train everyone within our departments, such that when the assessor doesn't happen to be there on that one day, we'll have all of our other employees able to step up. A lot of cooperation between the towns. It's really going to, I think, enable us to the software that we'll bring in to ensure that assessments are kept better up to date, so that folks aren't, hit with. We certainly have these anomalies where people will come in and say, here I am being taxed this great amount, and it turns out we hadn't gotten to these parcels and things like this. Now I'll have more people on staff in both towns. It's going to increase the level of constituent service to everyone, and we're going to do so at a reduced cost, and it'll ultimately mean greater revenue for the town. So it's really just as many folks have said, it's just a great vision on your part, and I think you manage the government as it should be managed, and the people of Beekman and Dover, and I think everyone assembled here, just very grateful for what you're doing here.
Okay, if you're keeping count, that's 4 of 5. So last but not least, we have Mayor Matt Alexander from the Village of Wappingers Falls, and there's an award of $200,000 in support of the tri-municipal wastewater treatment system.
Well, thank you very much. And Mark, I would really like to thank you for your leadership in this program. It did lots more than I think you've already led on for. So I feel like we've won this grant award, but we also participated with, under your leadership, the Municipy software. Todd, the Village of Wappingers Falls, as far as our water treatment facility, is very happy to hear about less salt going into the watershed. That's a very important issue for us. When you decide that you're going to spend money more efficiently, you get more effectiveness throughout the entire county. And you got two CPAs at the table here who are very happy about what you've brought for taxpayers here in Dutchess County. Another interesting thing about this process is I have never gone through as thorough a grant vetting process as this, and the thing that really made me happy about it was that it made sense. And there are a lot of times when a grant process, and we've gone through a lot of them, don't always make sense, and it's a lot easier to do when you stay more locally. And I really would like to hand it to Dutchess County Planning for the very thorough process you went through. We put the application in, and then there was actually phone calls back to us asking us over and over again, what is this for? We'd like to understand this better. Could you explain this more? And I really appreciate that. And I'd like to hand it especially to Julia, who reached out to us a couple of times and made sure that all of the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. So thank you for that process. So our program overview is there's a shared service that's been in existence since the 70s called Tri-Municipal Wastewater Treatment Plant, and it serves the towns of Poughkeepsie, Wappinger, and the Village of Wappingers Falls. It has a long history of effective operation for this rapidly growing, highly dense, multi-municipal service area. However, more current and efficient technologies are emerging that are designed to increase the functional capacity of plants, particularly in the face of increasing residential and commercial development, and especially in southern Dutchess County. The tri-municipal plant has been experiencing increasing problems with the mechanical surface aerators that provide oxygen for the secondary treatment biological process, That sounds very interesting. What you should know, what you should take from that is we were at a critical juncture, and this process could not have come at a better time for us, because the question was replace existing broken things with the status quo, or get more innovative and decide that you could share more, get more people on a successful shared venture, and increase the cooperation throughout the county, and that's exactly what we were able to do through this process. Many of the 8 aerators were nearing the end of their useful life and are experiencing increasingly serious mechanical problems. They soon would require replacement. So this request is to provide for the replacement of current aeration technology at the plant with more energy-efficient modern alternatives. Most importantly, the proposed small bubble aeration installation will increase the plant's wastewater treatment capacity by up to 50% of its current capability. And that's a good thing for adding more users to the tri-municipal system, but it's also a good thing, again, for water quality in a county that is up against some serious water quality problems as we continue to grow, continue to add more business opportunities, and have to balance that with the proper treatment and respect for our watershed. So we really thank you for this very thoughtful process and this very efficient and responsible government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that the range of projects that were described today is a good representation of the range of projects that we received. I was very impressed with the quality of most of the applications, and the fact that there really were, the purposes of the program that the county executive described in terms of having municipalities come together and work together, looking at ways to improve efficiencies within county government, and also look at ways that you might be able to actually have a situation where you're actually cooperating on providing a service that each town could provide separately. Mm-hmm. So I think that that has been a great, these projects, as the round one, really show that diversity. I also went back to some of those reports that the county executive mentioned earlier and looked at some of the things that they talked about in terms of potential community shared services or consolidation. And many of them were touched, whether it be shared assessment, whether it be looking at public works, whether it be looking at greater efficiency or more environmental.
Sorry.
What do you need us to do?
I think push that. Yes, there we go.
More environmental efficiency, or all of which I think are good for the communities involved and also good for the county as a whole. One of the things we want to do now is give the supervisors and mayor an opportunity to talk a little bit more about this process. And I'm wondering, first of all, whether this process has led you to have other conversations that might lead to applications in subsequent years. Anybody?
I would say, yeah. I think that what was interesting about the process is that we connected with these other towns and realized not only do we have this need, but so do they. And so I think that working with Todd on the SALT project, and actually, I'd like to thank our highway supers who were very cooperative and sought that. I think that it's leading us to think about what other processes we can examine for next time. So yeah, it's been, and actually, not to go away from the topic so much, but really it's brought us closer as the mayors in county community through the association, and I think that because of that, our meetings are more dynamic and
We gave you a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Like when you took away that sales tax, like that brought us together. Like but really, that was actually the inspiration for us to look inward and then outward, which is really what you were trying to do. So I'm sure once we get this under our belts, we'll be looking for more money from you next year. And was that what you really wanted to ask?
Anybody else?
I guess, oh, sorry, Dave. Go ahead. My question's more of, the structure of the program. Now, this is great news that we received today, obviously, in terms of the salt spreaders and the work at Tri-Muni. Should we definitively move forward with, can we start?
You're getting your money.
Okay, yes.
And, you know,
We have that in
we-
writing?
Technically, we can start making ordering equipment and.
I don't know if this is working. I guess it is. Do you want to have Owen is
wanna-
best to just talk about the logistics of the next couple of steps? Good question, Supervisor.
Thank
We
you.
don't want you to delay. Winter's
We're
coming.
just anxious, even Tri-Muni. I mean, we'll move as quickly as we can because we believe in the project, and, as soon as you can give us affirmative, we'll move forward.
Yeah, what we're going to be doing is that the Department of Planning and Development will be sending out correspondence to the Tier 1 project and starting the contractual process, because it's going to be done through a contractual process.
Okay.
So that's going to go out hopefully early next week, so we can start the process as quickly as possible to get in construction season to order the equipment. So we're going to try and move that as long as quickly as possible, just developing the scope of services and getting it through the contractual process to proceed with moving ahead on the project.
Okay.
And these are 18-month, what's the time?
Yeah, there's 18 months for project completion.
Okay.
Okay, great.
And similar to the Community Development Block Grant Program, failure to meet that would potentially enable the county to recapture dollars. So the concept is keep the money flowing, get the projects going,
Good.
and not have delay.
Perfect, thank you.
Anytime.
Keely, to actually answer your question, I think it has spurred a lot of conversation, and I think that Aileen brought this up from the start. It's brought our association, the supervisors and mayors, together. I mean, here, just listen to this. It's Matt, it's Aileen. We're first name basis, to where years ago it was, who's that supervisor, or is that a mayor, or who's that? We've all met and we've had conversations, been more emails floating around because of this. And it's nice to see what's out there, but it's also on the other side, it's the first year of a program, and you try to wonder, what are they really looking for? Now we know it is. I mean, Matt and Ryan came up with the program for shared assessor service. We currently do that, as you started to allude to, with the town of Patterson. I mean, they're in Putnam County. We contract with their assessor for 2 days a week. So trying to realize what the parameters are of what you can go for. Now I think it's the floodgates are open for you guys. You're going to probably see much better communication amongst the supervisors and mayors. You're going to see, and with the county, adding to see how we can help out the county, as when we're doing with this fuel master program, the replacement of fuel farm. We look forward to not just the disbursement of the funds, because we are a construction project. We want to get these tanks on property right away. So, Owen alluded to how quick, hopefully that process is going to happen, but we also need to enter into an IMA with the county for using those services. We got to look at some, hopefully, OCIS to get some technology there, so we can get the fobs for your trucks and vehicles, so how much fuel to be charged for. I mean,
What David just did in that last sentence, I would just offer to you is exactly the expectation of the program. He spoke with language and jargon that never was used 20 years ago. IMA, intermunicipal agreement. Of course, we know what the key fob is. OCIS, Dutchess County's IT department, and I'm thrilled with what we're hearing. I know it was our hope. I can assure you that Keely, Owen, and Julia were asking the same questions that you were all asking when you started asking, what are you looking for? And they said, what are you looking for?
Right.
So, but I don't want to over or underemphasize. You represent the best of these applications. The next round's very, very strong, very, very good.
Excuse me, I think this thing died.
I told you he was going to slap your
I
hand.
know, they come out of the basement.
We take things seriously here.
You let the sweets out of the basement? Where were they? You really do represent the best of these applications and really define what we hope the program will continue to evolve towards. So, other comments on that sort of front?
Yeah, the one comment that I had, I think, I reviewed most of these. Most were, for something within a town or sharing with another town. I think there's a greater opportunity in subsequent years for the proposal for partnerships more with the county and the towns. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, even on things like, say, record management. I know that we within the town of Beekman pay a pretty substantial amount of money just to use this third-party provider who's, keeping our records at one location. I would think that there's probably opportunities with, certain county buildings or even buildings that are just lying around here dormant nowadays, that where there could be sort of a centralized records management type activity with the county being involved with the towns. Same thing, we're speaking here of shared assessor, but I know that there have been moves in other towns, for example, with tax collection, things like that could potentially be on a more centralized basis with the county becoming involved, with the towns having some role. But basically, what we're finding in just a lot of these circumstances is, there are some vestiges of the big government days of yore that just kind of need to die a slow death. And I think with opportunities like this, everyone is forced to really look at some of these positions and some of these services in a really critical way. And programs like this force us to and incentivize us to do precisely that. And it's just, it's very wise.
Well, and I think that's the beauty of this particular program, because rather than say, we think that towns ought to share assessors, you said to us, we think that we ought to share an assessor with the town of Dover. So it wasn't the county saying, all of you towns ought to do shared assessment. You're going to be an example. Obviously, Dave's town has already done that, not within Dutchess County, but the same function. And in terms of collaboration with the county, I know that our Office of Central and Information Services, OCIS, has been out to visit most of the communities about some of the services that they have to offer, whether it is joint purchasing or printing or some other things. And certainly records management, I don't think was one that had come up before, but it's something that we can certainly...
It might next week. I think we do. We may have an application from a municipality who wants to do a little electronic content management, and you might know that this year the legislature initiated a countywide ECM program where we're starting to digitize our own records. So perhaps you're a fortune teller, but the hope is that some of those logical services that would be best centralized at the county level could be centralized, and the Municity software again is a good tool as well that the county will be able to benefit from. We hope to be able to integrate our IT into the software, so we too can use it to manage projects. So I think you hit the nail on the head. You're going to see more of that. We suspected, in a funny way, we might get low-hanging fruit in 2013 for 14, but you really gave us projects that were, well above that, which means next year. And I'm sure that's one of the questions Keely's going to ask. How about, is this the kind of thing we should continue? But next year we have to amp it up a bit and step it up a bit. And I think you're going to see that, and there'll be greater opportunity for the county. This year many of you joined our workers' compensation pool. So many of you saved hundreds of thousands of dollars. I love Amenia because I get to say they saved, I think, 70% of their workers' comp by joining us. This year, we're initiating an analysis of the county's health insurance policy and whether or not municipalities could buy your employee health insurance through us and see similar savings. So those are the kinds of things that I think you're going to see us continue to expand upon should we have the cooperation and the resources to do it, and I think we will.
I think that you probably do want to see this program continue next year.
Absolutely.
I think this is working.
One of the things I'm interested in hearing about is whether or not you had any, whether you encountered any impediments to your collaboration or challenges. And maybe these were the ones where you had more natural affinities to get these projects done. One of the things we've done with all of our community investment programs is gone back and really taken a hard look at our processes, our procedures, our policies, our applications. We learned a lot with our inaugural year of the agency partner. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot about the inaugural year of our municipal shared services program. So any suggestions you want to offer to us now?
I think part of the, if I can, just part of that discussions, we had a lot with with Dover, with the Village of Pawling, on some of the projects. And I think as you try to hone down the process or what you're really going to apply for, you have the marbles in the jar bowl. Everybody's got an idea, it's in there, and you're trying to pick out the best one. You're trying to go there, and I think that's what it was. behind the scenes is drafting it down to the one or two projects. I mean, we had the other application with the Village of Pawling for a lift truck, for a high lift truck, a cherry picker. And it was really trying to figure out why someone came up with it, but the more reasons it was brought up, it became a good project for everybody, and everybody kept that on the forefront, and that's why it was, it didn't make the round, and we understand that, but it's something that could be used by everybody, and it may not just be this time just the village and town of Pawling, or it may be the school district, and it may be the surrounding communities. We may do more with that and saying, okay, it's beneficial not to buy a used one, but to buy a new one and open it up to a larger thing. So that next round may be something. So it was the behind the scenes and the time frame to really look at it, to know what we're up against. But I would like to just state one thing also, is I really want to thank the legislature and the legislators for doing this. Behind, we know that you put up another $1 million in this project. And behind behalf of my residents of Village of Pawling, I'd really like to thank you for working with the county executive, because that's what's new to this whole procedure, is the two bodies working together. And it's a benefit of everybody, and that's what this really shows. It's a benefit of everybody. So, and to continue the program. I'll say right now, we need to, yeah.
I do have a question. So, as part of the process, I believe there's going to be a performance review. Is that, and so I'm just kind of curious how that will integrate into future projects. So, if you review these different applications and you ascertain that one worked well for one community, will you then fund that for a different community using the same model? Or is it the innovation that you're focusing on?
I think of it in two different ways. The Community Development Advisory Committee that reviewed the applications and then made recommendations to the county executive is very interested in looking at the performance measures and how the projects are doing for future evaluations. So that's definitely a component of it. Did the project meet its expectations? Did it do it effectively? Is it using the money in the best resource and the resources in the best effective manner? So I think that's a component in the future selection. I think the second component is perhaps looking at, as Supervisor Kelly said, what communities are already doing shared services to kind of build up an example book or a place to go to see for good examples that could be done. So we're looking at trying to build up, I don't want to say a database, but a compendium, a resource that the communities could use to look for and say, when they're putting their hands in the jar for the marbles, what have other communities done and what worked better for them than perhaps what we've done?
That is really brilliant, actually, because if we just had that resource to go, oh, look, here's what, Dover and Pawling are doing, can we do that too? Rather than even going through the grant process, we should be able to effectuate it without a lot of additional funds, really.
This for us will become sort of the Greenway guide for consolidation shared services, where we have sort of best practices that we put in front of you. Those best practices are the ones that you've created. We'll put them in front of municipalities, and you pick and choose. But this was never, and I would hope never becomes, about the county saying to you, you ought to do this. And try this, but rather here are models, best practices that have worked. You may want to consider them, and you may want to wow us and come up with something that's entirely new. It's all about trying to get, again, smaller, smarter, more successful, but drive down the total cost of government in an effort to get wring out greater efficiencies. You're best to tell us what those are, and I think this will continue to build. There'll be a growing dictionary of good projects you can refer back to.
Very good.
Can I add something else?
Yes, you can.
At the very beginning of the process, I kind of went out to different parts of the county to kind of answer questions. And that was very informative to me to try and hear and understand what the communities were thinking about. Because it was that first year, the application was broad-based in the sense that we didn't want to narrow in on anything. We wanted to hear the ideas. And that kind of open discussion, to have the communities there to talk and hear about the other ideas, I think helped foster them. And continuing that in the future with then having other best practices, just the discussion part at the beginning, there might be that glimmer of a project that gets real after that, and that opportunity just to discuss it early on in the process, I thought worked well, and I'd hope to continue that in the future.
That makes sense.
I think that this is a great process because it sort of takes it out of the box, and it allows us to think without borders and come up with good ideas. And I think it's very important that the process never lose that component, because there aren't a lot of grant programs that allow you to meet your specific needs. One suggestion for future rounds is that you might want to ask communities what the highest percentage item is in their budget and why they can't change it. I go through my budget all the time and look for opportunities, and I will come up with a list of reasons why I can't beat that number down. And you might learn from that and be able to offer some county-led solutions that we just can't touch right now as municipalities because either it's too politically hot or it's just not, it's just too big of a nut for us to try to take down. So I think this process is amazing. I think it, has the opportunity to really bring some much greater innovation in. And again, I thank you for the process.
Absolutely. One comment I would have there, too, is the town of Beekman is a participant in the Workers' Compensation Collective, or whatever the term is, and I know there was some discussion afoot about perhaps expanding that, such that there could potentially be, health insurance, I know, is one of the largest items in our budget. And if there are opportunities there to come together as a purchasing group, I think we'd potentially see some very significant savings, and would love to see that. In terms of the obstacles that we encounter, I think that, with any type of innovation like this, the main obstacle is people just kind of prefer to remain with, quote, the way things have always been. But I think our taxpayers come to understand that sometimes the way things have always been is really just another way of saying you're being overcharged and you're paying too much in taxes. So by incentivizing us in this way, you're forcing people to look, this will be the savings over time for projects like this. And it's just worked out really well. One thing I should have mentioned, too, with respect to the award that's being given to us, as a result of it, we're able to roll out this training. We're going to have a great number of people within both municipalities who will be able to step in and assume these roles. The computer system that's going to be part of it is going to, enhance things greatly. But at the same time, what it's going to mean for both towns over the course of the next 5 years, I think, is some $90,000 in savings to us, to our taxpayers. And this is a program that I would imagine would continue going forward for many years. So just this investment by the county here is really just saving people a great deal of money, and it's much appreciated.
That's a great commercial, thank you. And we'll end on that note.
That's a great place to end. What I'd like to do is, if you don't mind, would you all join me in a nice warm round of applause to the Department of Planning, our staff, Keely and Owen and Julia have done. They really have done phenomenally good work. Keely has really been a shining example of how you kind of work through the system, get where you are, and really earn the trust and respect of the municipalities. And for the planning department to work, it needs that. It needs you to trust them and respect them. So I think you have that, and I think all of you deserve that recognition. I think I'd like to piggyback on what the supervisor just said, and I know that our decision to cap sales tax was met with adversity and consternation, but the concept was, I was a village mayor for 12 years, and you can get into the position of, I know how things ought to be, and you don't need to disrupt my way of doing it. I was in a municipality where they said, "Oh, we don't have any more shared services," and I said, "Well, I don't know. Look down the street. Your town hall's across the street from your village hall. You might want to talk a little bit about that." And I think we have one of those this year. But we recognize that you need to incentivize and also disrupt business a little bit in order to get us thinking. And you all reacted admirably. I mean, you really have come to the table with great ideas. So I'm very grateful to all of you as well. We have members of the media here. We wanted to give you, if you want an opportunity to ask us any questions while we're all assembled, great. If you would prefer us just to break up, you're welcome to talk with any of our colleagues. What's your preference? One-on-one with the television usually works. Same for radio, and apparently everyone's going the pick and choose. I just don't have your feelings hurt if they don't ask you a question. But with that, we want to thank all of you again, the great folks at Planning and Development. I'm grateful to the legislature. I think what we've heard is a ringing endorsement of the program. So hopefully, as we finalize budget development, we'll be able to come to an agreement on what this might look like in future years. And I think all of us as elected officials, you'll join me in extending our thanks to the taxpayers for letting us really use their resource, these dollars, to create, to benefit not only in the year we initiate these projects, but to really provide long-term opportunity and savings to taxpayers. And that was the point, and you all have produced on that. So thank you all. Thank you, Aileen, for hosting us.
Thank you.
And have a great day.
Thank you very much.
That's a cool project you have.
Hi, how are you?
So we have
Oh, sorry.
Some did.